There was a man living back this way one time in Muckross, and when everything else had been forgotten about him, one thing will be remembered, and that is that he wrote the shortest will in the history of the world. There was only one line in his will. It said, I, Johnny Murphy, being of sound mind and body, drank every penny I had before I died. And the devil never wrote it through a word. He was a very devious kind of a man, the same Johnny Murphy. Oh, he'd buy and sell you and dig into, and that is how he got the name of Crooked Johnny. We've a word for people in Ireland, Thomas. If they're devious, we call them crooked. Most of them goes into politics. And does very well, a lot of them. Apologies, Senator Coughlin. With exception, of course. This man was so twisted and crooked that he got the nickname of Crooked Johnny. There was an old woman said about him one time, well, that fella, she said, he is so crooked and twisted that if he swallowed a 6-inch nail, he'd truly pass the corkscrew. Crooked Johnny was a biteen of a small farmer. Indeed, he was a big farmer by our standards. He had the grass of 6 cows. He used to milk them. He always kept 2 nanny goats to run with the cows for luck. He used to milk them. And he always kept 3 ducks, but he used to milk them now. And so things rested so until Crooked Johnny got bait up in the bones, arthritis, you know. And it became so bad for a finish that he was confined full-time to a labba, Susan style of the hammock upstairs, and his poor wife Julie, her hat was broken from drawing up grub to him morning, noon and night. Girls, you know what it's like when the men get sick, their appetite seems to increase. Crooked Johnny was no different. The first order used to come at 6:30 in the morning. 2 duck eggs and a good grain of salt, if you don't mind. And from that till dark night, we and Van Shaw agree, Sus, agus she's on steer with plates and trays of food for the Maria invalid upstairs. It wasn't bad enough for Crooked Johnny to be bait up in the bones till, how will I say this in front of the posh people in Killarney, the waterworks went against him. There was no holding on to anything. No sooner would it be gone in above than I'd want to come out below. You could say he suffered from frequency here, that runs in families. And this became so bad for a finish that poor Crooked Johnny had to reluctantly agree to see the local doctor. And the doctor said, my good man, he said, this is a problem which needs to be rectified from the inside out, an operation, John. Which, of course, necessitated a trip to the local hospital in Tralee, and that was the big excursion. Crooked Johnny was a man of 78 years of age, and he'd never slept in any bed for as much as one night other than his own upstairs. Such a hullabaloo and a hillabo herk getting him ready for his trip to the hospital. New pyjamas had to be bought. It was the first time he'd ever seen pyjamas, never mind worn them. I brought them to show you, actually. Twould do you good, I brought them in case anyone here hadn't used them. Twould do you good to be in the house the night before Crooked Johnny went to the hospital. They introduced the pyjamas to him, and him to the pyjamas. For a finish up, they put the pyjamas on him, getting him used to them. It was like a dress rehearsal. And they were parading him up and down the floor this way. And they had a little list of things that he should be saying in the hospital, and a big long list of things that he should not be saying in the hospital. Well, the big morning dawned, and Crooked Johnny was no sooner rightly settled in the hospital than 2 nurses came into the ward where he was. I don't know if there's any nurses here this evening, lads. Own up if you're here. Thanks. Nurses in Ireland are known for 2 things. One is waking you up to give you sleeping tablets. The other is they're afraid for stripping, and just as a man over here, I'm getting very excited when I say the nurses for stripping. They're afraid altogether for stripping the bed and making the bed. These nurses were no different. They came into where Crooked Johnny was, and they stripped every stitch of clothes that was on the bed off of it. And that wasn't bad enough. To the Lord between us and all harm, didn't they turn on poor Crooked Johnny? And they stripped every stitch of clothes off him as well and left him lying there in his birthday suit, not a very nice thing of a cold frosty morning in Tralee Hospital. They brought in this kind of a green garment then to put it on him. He was telling me about it afterwards. I couldn't make it out rightly. He said it was like getting into an overcoat frontwards. I brought it to show you. I tell you, at the Killarney School of Music, we're well prepared for all eventualities. They put this kind of a green coat on him, and they threw him up in this trolley that had wheels on it, and they railroaded him down the corridor to this other place that was called an operating theatre. There was poor Crooked Johnny. And before he went in the door, they put some sort of a cap on his head, and when he got in to the operating theatre, there was the doctor standing over him with a mask over his face, although it wasn't Halloween. I suppose he didn't want to be known. There was the doctor with the mask. There was poor Crooked Johnny on the trolley with the wheels in it. Their eyes met. And Crooked, the doctor was wearing same kind of a green coat. There must have been all the fashion at the time in Tralee Hospital. All that was short was a yellow band across the middle. But we better not talk about last Sunday because we were blackguarded. We were highly blackguarded. Yeah, we'll get over it sooner. Give us 12 months and we'll be over it. Crooked Johnny grabbed the doctor by his green coat, for he was wearing one too, and he said, Dr. Acree, Doctor my heart. Dr. Acree, he says, I have a request for you before you handles your knife. He said, you can cut me up that side there, or you could rip me across the top here, or you could even open me down that side there. He said, but the devil pick you, doctor. He said, whatever else you do, he said, please, 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 please don't touch my belly button. For he said, when my wife Julie brings up the 2 duck eggs in the morning to me, that's when I do keep the salt. Thanks very, very much indeed, auntie. Lovely cow. You know something? You're the nicest Friday night crowd we had so far this week. Well, Crooked Johnny made a remarkable recovery from the operation. Oh, people were amazed at him. He was up and walking around after 3 days. He was full of life and thespian and tespok. Tespok, Thomas, is an Irish word. If we drank lots of, for energy, if we drank lots of Red Bull or Lucozade or something like this. People here tonight, they're that posh. They had Lucozade in the house and there was no one sick. Well, if we drank a lot of Lucozade, it would be filled with tespok. And Crooked Johnny was filled with tespok so much so that he put pen to paper and he wrote a letter home to his wife, Julie in Muckross. The first time he'd ever written to her after 58 years of marriage. Muckross men are not very romantic, I'm sorry to say it. My sister works in the post office, and she opened the letter. She opens all the letters. Katie the steamer, we call her. She has a special kettle for opening letters, and she took notes, so I can give you part of it now. This is the letter from Crooked Johnny home to his wife. He said, hello, Julia. I miss you. I miss your brown bread. There's only all old shop white bread here in the hospital. Didn't one bit nice. Would stick onto your insides. He said, but most of all, to be honest, what I miss is the pot under the bed. I know there's posh people here tonight, so I brought to show you again. Does any of you know what this is? This, Thomas, is not an Irish Army helmet. Neither, indeed, Thomas. Is it a Kerry Giant's teacup? No, actually, no, Thomas. This is Ireland's first en suite. Indeed. 'Tis still the ensuite in plenty Irish houses. My own included. Anyway, Crooked Johnny said that he missed that terrible. He said he went looking for it in the hospital. He wanted to see the thing they brought him, he said. Mother of God, he said, it was something like a townie would buy eggs inside him. He couldn't make it out rightly at all. You can hold that for me, missus. I'm sorry, I'm going to get the sack before I start it all. I'm sorry. And Padraig behind me saying, you're fired, I can hear it. Well, Julie was delighted to get the letter from Crooked Johnny. She wrote back to him by return of post. My sister opened that letter as well, Katie the steamer. Don't ever post anything important around here. Or don't put money into it if you do. Or maybe do, put money into it. She said, hello, Johnny, I'm glad that you're missing me. You won't be missing me much longer. I'm getting the bus over to Tralee tomorrow. You won't be missing your brown bread much longer, for I have a beautiful cake of it baking in the vestibule. The aroma, she said, she was all big words. She had spent some time in Dublin a weekend, to be honest. The aroma is filling the kitchen, she said. And she says, Johnny, as for you missing the pot under the bed, you didn't you always miss that anyway? Now, lads, that's my story, and if there's a line that I can put it there. Thanks very much.